I witnessed my own father stand mute while she tore us apart. That's not a line from a Netflix movie. That's Jim Jones's son talking about Chrissy Lampkin in a leaked voice memo with no filters or screenplay. It's not only upsetting, it's devastating. She didn't just cheat on my father, she betrayed all of us. She devastated our family, and he let her let it sink in for years. Fans believed Chrissy Lampkin was simply the ride or die. Fiancé, but behind closed doors, she was supposedly receiving late-night calls from Cameron as Jim was out chasing checks to keep the family afloat. Now, the son who has been quiet all these time is tearing down everything. The lies, the treachery. The nights he heard the arguments, the day he came in and saw something he was never intended to witness. This ain't no reality TV drama anymore. This is real blood, real betrayal, and a son finally speaking his tale. Father was too shattered to say anything. Stay right there, because after you hear what he discloses next, you'll never look at Chrissy the same again. She didn't just break his heart, she destroyed everything we were holding together. He simply stood there watching her burn it all down. That's not a rumor. It's a voice memo from Jim Jones's kid, and it's now floating through every group chat from Harlem to Houston for years. Chrissy Lampkin lauded as the ride or die, the lady who waited, battled, and remained. But behind the expensive shoes, VH1 cuts, and manufactured reunions was a different Chrissy, who allegedly left broken pieces everywhere she walked, including inside her own house. And now that house of secrets is blowing wide up because the one person who never uttered a thing, Jim Jones' son, is suddenly talking, and he's not just talking, he's exposing. We all recall the subtle murmurs that trailed Chrissy for years, whispers of an emotional attachment with none other than Cameron Jim's close buddy, dipsit sibling family by loyalty, rather than blood back then. Folks believed it was a messy rumor, merely blog talk. But what if I told you that not only were those rumors genuine, but Jim's own son watched the fall from the front row? I was just a teenager, but I wasn't naive. I saw the DMs, and I saw how Jim stared at her when he found out, but he stayed like everything was normal. This isn't a fan theory anymore. It's direct evidence from someone who had every reason to keep silent but didn't, and now the internet is on fire because of the leak. With one cryptic Instagram story, only a black backdrop, white lettering that said, "You ever had to act like everything's cool knowing the woman who ruined your childhood is sitting in the next room?" No tags, names, or context, yet followers knew. Within 15 minutes, Chrissy was trending again, but this time not for a fresh reality TV return, but for what some are calling the Harlem House betrayal. And when bloggers sought to contact out for clarification, they were blasted with the voice memo, a 47-second tape without music, filters, or edits, just a mature man addressing the traumas that formed his life. My father isn't perfect, but the way she played him, I still don't understand. How he forgave, that I don't even believe he did. I think he simply gave up. To grasp the weight of this narrative, we need to go back to the initial incident. The alleged romance with Cameron wasn't just a one-night mistake. According to insiders close to the family, it was a 2-year emotional roller coaster complete with late-night FaceTime chats, covert hotel reunions while Jim was on tour, and a series of business trips Chrissy supposedly made alone but always in the same places as Cam seemed phony. That's what we believe too. Until an anonymous former assistant of Chrissy came out. Let's call her Kesha. Kesha worked for Chrissy between 2014 and 2016, and she says, often she'd claim she was heading to LA to manage a shoot or do fittings, but I always had to arrange her flights to wherever Cam was playing. I didn't think much of it until I overheard them bickering on the phone. You know who they are? According to Kesha, Jim flew out early one night to surprise Chrissy in Atlanta, and when he entered into her suite, he found Cam's wallet on the bedside. Chrissy stood there astonished and speechless. I don't know what occurred after that. All I know is that she ordered me to cancel everything the following day. She was weeping and shivering as she left the hotel before daylight. accusations hit, many were not shocked. In fact, many are saying they saw the symptoms all along. Here are just a few fictitious but very genuine-sounding comment highlights from Twitter x not JimJonesSon stating what? We've been wondering since 2012 about Chrissy Ben moving hilarious dips at baby mother. She played the long game, got the ring, and still dipped on him emotionally. Jim deserved a better honest chat with Ray, I recall. That LHNY reunion, the way she looked at Cam when he walked up uninvited, that wasn't a nice look. And just like that, the internet got its newest fixation, what actually went down in the Jones family. But the tale stopped there because what Jim's son revealed next turned this story from messy to tragic. In the second section of his stolen voice memo, Jim's son describes a recollection so intimate and terrible that it is sending shockwaves through the society. I remember being 14 and hearing them argue through the walls. I didn't understand everything, but I knew it was about him and Cam. I overheard my father say, "You could have informed me you didn't have to embarrass me like this." And she responded, "I wanted something genuine, Jim, and you were never truly here." That line, "You were never truly here." The internet froze. Because whether true or not, that's a deep lasting scar, and now it's out in the open. After that night, everything changed. Chrissy stopped posting family photos, Jim appeared distant, and the chemistry fans previously enjoyed eventually faded into awkward quiet. During interviews now looking back, followers are claiming the indications were all there, but just didn't want to accept it. The most dangerous lies, one user commented, are the ones we tell ourselves merely to preserve a nice image online, and Jim he never openly addressed the Cameron allegations not once. Not even when Cam sneak dissed Chrissy in a tune that suddenly disappeared from streaming the week after it debuted. Thus, the issue remains, why did Jim's son select this opportunity to finally speak, and what does this imply for the future of the Jones family? We're about to delve deeper because the following voice memo reveals something more worse, something that might explain why Jim never defended himself, why Chrissy never got canceled, and why the individuals closest to them remained quiet till now. The following audio memo posted Jim's son's voice fell anonymously but undeniably at 2:04 a.m., and it altered everything. I hadn't spoken before because I didn't want to dishonor my father, but witnessing him shrink every year as she smiled, for cameras as if nothing had happened. Yeah, that ain't love, that's manipulation, let that breathe. It's not just about cheating anymore. It's about what happens after betrayal and the quiet. While Chrissy was out here providing relationship advice on reality shows, developing brands, and flipping tables for drama, Jim was supposedly disintegrating silently behind closed doors. And guess who was watching the whole time? I used to beg him, "Why don't you leave?" And he'd simply respond, "She's all I had, dude." That resonated with me. People often wondered why Jim never married Chrissy after all those years, whether it was cold feet, the profession, his attitude, or something deeper, such as terror that if he let go, he'd lose not just a partner, but the only structure he'd known, no matter how poisonous now image growing up in that watching your father chasing serenity while drowning in turmoil. That's what Jim's kid is laying naked now. Not for clout, not for views, but for release. And let's talk about this next section because here is where the tale flips. One of the strangest accusations came from a private DM that was leaked to a gossip website, a former employee of the Jones family. The message claimed, she had access to everything, bank info, passwords, contracts, she'd intercept his calls, delete messages, cancel meetings without telling him there were times Jim would show up to places and be told the event was canceled, only to find out later Chrissy pulled the plug behind his back, if that's true. And let's be clear, this is all alleged. We're talking about emotional control on another level. Another leaked email, apparently from Chrissy's publicist to a television producer, states, "Please do not bring up the Cameron allegations during the sit-down. Chrissy is willing to discussing the progression of her relationship with Jim, but the Cam story is off limits." Why would it be off limits if it was never true? Why would you avoid a ghost until Ghost was genuine, wearing pink mink and a smile? And that's not even the weirdest part, since Cameron himself is slinging shade on his Instagram account. Cam tweeted a footage of himself from an old Dipset music video standing next to Chrissy's caption reads, "Some memories age like wine." No context, no follow-up, just smoke. But the internet, oh, it took fire within hours. Archer Kamasi started trending, and people started digging out old clips, putting together time frames, comparing lyrics, examining interviews, and it's not looking good for Chrissy. Fans are now resurrecting a 2016 interview when Cam was questioned about women in the business and smiled, before stating, "Some women are loyal to the spotlight, not the man who holds it." Many today feel that was a direct strike at Chrissy, and if it was, she never fired back, never disputed it. She just shifted. And now, with Jim's son presenting his side, there's a new narrative forming that places Chrissy in the position of the villain, not the victim. She wasn't just toxic to him, the son says in the dying seconds of the voice message. She was poisonous to us, to the whole family. And right there, everything clicked. This isn't just a romance scandal. This is a family breakdown. Years of emotional degradation buried in not to mention fancy outfits and Instagram filters. Chrissy proposed to Jim on national television. She didn't wait for him to ask, instead seizing the limelight and saying, "I got this." At the time, many considered it an inspiring legendary boss move. But today, fans are wondering whether it was just another tactic to manipulate the narrative and make the world think she was the glue while silently pulling the threads behind. The scenes and when Jim didn't instantly accept the proposal, we saw the tension, but we didn't comprehend the context. It wasn't cold feet, it was inner conflict. It was a man split between love and allegiance and a son witnessing the whole thing come apart, and it gets even worse. A purported audio leak made anonymously looks to be a recorded phone call between Jim and an unnamed male buddy. Hazy, but clear enough to hear Jim remark, "She don't even look at me the same. I'm in the crib feeling like a ghost, like I'm in her way." Let that sink in. Not just heartbroken, not furious, invisible. And while all of this plays out in public, where's Chrissy? Silent? No tweets, no Instagram posts, no denial, no damage control, just quiet. And you know what that silence means. Guilt or strategy, because make no mistake, Chrissy knows. How to spin a narrative, she's done it for a decade, from Love and Hip-Hop to fashion deals. She's always knew how to make herself appear like the misunderstood queen. But this time the story's getting away from her, and it's not just Jim's son talking. Now more claimed insiders are speaking up, folks who used to work behind the scenes at VH1, stylists, drivers, even old friends. One DM claims she always had a backup plan if she ever needed to go away. She had leverage. Jim wasn't crazy. He was weary. He used to remark, "If she leaves, I'll lose more than just love. I'll lose everything." Imagine living that way. Now here's where it all connects. Jim Jones's music slowed down after 2015. He stopped releasing as regularly, toured as much, and the last time he gave an honest interview about love, he remarked, "Sometimes you remain because walking away seems like failure even when you know it's already finished." That statement sounds like a man who lingered too long in a burning home, and a son who watched the fire powerless holding the ashes. The fans are split. Some believe Jim's kid is simply exposing dirty laundry for publicity. Some feel he wanted to recover his truth. But one thing is for sure, Chrissy's image as the faithful, loving, drama-fighting fiancé is crumbling. And behind it, a full decade of secrets that could simply rewrite all we thought we knew. What happens next? The lawsuits? The apologies? The inevitability damage control that's coming? But first, we need to speak about the one thing no one predicted: what Jim is preparing now that this is all out. And believe me, when you hear what he's been sitting on all these years, you'll know this was never just about love, this about survival. Because when the truth eventually starts to unravel, you discover some individuals weren't just surviving a horrible relationship. They were imprisoned in a performance, a long-running act that. According to recent insider reports, Jim Jones was ready to depart several times, but every time he came close, something suddenly leaked confidential information. A fight would be videotaped, an old quarrel would reemerge, and guess who always had the perfect counter-narrative ready? Chrissy, according to one former stylist who worked with both of them at any given moment, Jim. Trying to pivot out, she'd suddenly become the victim publicly. She perfected it, weep on camera, then call the shoots off it, the source even detailed. A particular time backstage during a reunion special, when Jim was silent and holding it together, Chrissy went in and said, "Don't forget what's on the line." He sat down and never uttered a word after that. So, what was truly on the line? Was it money, contracts, or secrets? Chrissy is hanging on to something far more powerful, a version of Jim that the world will never forget. But here's where it gets even worse, according to two claimed industry insiders, one from a defunct reality TV production firm, and Chrissy, who claimed to be a talent manager, allegedly had secret talks with officials about starting her own second life, which wasn't necessarily amorous but strategic. Series that wouldn't feature Jim at all. One where she was the star, the brand, the boss. And if Jim didn't comply properly, she knew where the bones were buried literally. Now, of course, this is all alleged, but the chronology begins to appear a bit too neat, especially when you consider the most recent bombshell, an anonymous audio recording published 3 nights ago. The voice is significantly distorted, but what is spoken is clearly clear. I told her, "If you leak that tape, I'm done." She said, "Baby, you're done." That's when I realized I was simply apparently the internet is certain the voice is Jim's, and that recording might be the suspected film from that notorious 2014 hotel incident in Atlanta, the one that was allegedly lost, because if what fans are piecing together is accurate, Jim's son just submitted a mysterious narrative with no words, just an old family photo cut in 2 down the middle, one side of which was Jim. The other side fans are DMing, tagging, and resharing to find out whether this means Jim and Chrissy are definitely done. But insiders are now stating Chrissy's next move is already in play. She's apparently shopping around a new contract, a tell-all documentary, in which she controls the narrative and gets to finally speak her truth. I don't know what control is, but the people ain't buying it. Not after hearing what Jim's kid had to say. Not after seeing years of stillness now explode into turmoil. And particularly not after what happened next. Because now Mama Jones, yes. In a surprise interview footage from a future podcast episode, Jim's outspoken mother, Mama Jones, says, "I've been told y'all she wasn't right, but y'all said I was crazy. I ain't crazy. I just saw the devil." Behind the diamonds, she goes off. Have you ever seen your child fall in love with a storm? He dances in lightning, believing it's a light show, but that storm was never going to end. It only waited till he was too weary to flee, Mom Jones. Chrissy alienated Jim from his family, making holidays difficult and family gatherings feel like interrogations. She even implies that Chrissy threw away letters Jim wrote to his late buddy Stack Bundles. And for those who know Jim's background, that one stung home. So now we've had Jim's son Mama Jones, purported former workers, and unknown insiders all singing the same chorus. Chrissy wasn't the victim, she was the puppeteer, and Jim was simply a loyal heart. Trapped in the strings, the internet is demanding answers. Hashtags like Chewy Free Jim Jones, Chin Chrissy Exposed, and Family First are filling timelines. Fan-made timelines, charts, receipts, and whole breakdowns of when. The reasons why Jim remained silent have gone viral, and celebrities are weighing in. Rapper Mayo tweeted, "Ain't no true one going to let his family drown in silence. Salute the sun for rising up." Reality star Kim Bella commented on a Shade Room post took y'all long enough to see it. Legendary producer Swizz Beatz liked a fan comment that said, "Jim deserved more than faked love and true agony." So what some insiders suggest, Jim is already in discussions to issue his own message, potentially in the form of music. Word on the sow. Street is that he has recorded a whole EP named Red Flags and Roses. All agony, all honesty, all him, and get this, he's intending to launch it without notice. No promotion, no announcement, just raw emotions, straight to streaming. And the streets are ready because for the first time, Chrissy is still silent and has not issued a comment. But her team is supposedly drafting a formal reaction, whether that means a lawsuit, a documentary, or another passive hostile IG post. Only time will tell, but one thing is for sure, the House of Cards is falling what appeared to be black love. Goals on TV are being revealed as emotional warfare behind the scenes, and the individuals involved are no longer hiding. This narrative isn't done. In fact, it's just getting started, since for every silence broken, there's another fracture. Another truth pushing its way out, and we, the people, are watching, wondering what more they've been hiding. Because if Chrissy could organize all of this in plain sight, what else did she hide behind? Meanwhile, what else did Jim give in the name of loyalty? And most importantly, what would you do if you discovered that the love you spent your life around was never about love at all? Was it fame, control, or something else? Is Jim finally waking up? Is the son courageous or messy? Is Chrissy the villain or a victim of spin? Please share your ideas in the comments section below. In the comments, press that like button, subscribe for the next drop, and keep those alerts on because you already know the next chapter of this drama is going to be even wilder. We have more audio, more leaked texts, hidden secrets are coming to light, and if you thought this was explosive, just wait till you see what comes next. So now that the mask is gone and the truth is pouring through the cracks, what do you suppose Chrissy was ever truly for? Jim, or was this whole affair one long, painful performance? Did Jim's kid just express what we've all been wondering for years? Is this the conclusion of a toxic love story or the beginning of a long overdue reckoning? We want to hear everything drop. Your responses, hot takes, and conspiracy theories in the comments below. Do you believe Mama Jones? Do you think Jim will finally speak out through music? Should Chrissy even have a forum to defend herself like this? Video. If you sensed an ounce of truth in what was stated, subscribe if you're tired of the lies and ready for more unfiltered reality. Ring that bell. Because the next leak may just shock the internet again, and trust you won't. Want to miss what's coming isn't merely drama is no longer a minor issue. Revolution of receipts remains stuck in